When my sister and I were young, my sister nearly 4 years younger than me, we were visiting family in San Diego, and we went to the grocery store with our aunt. In the checkout line, near all the enticing snacks, Aunt Pat told us we could choose a treat. Mom hardly ever let us choose anything at the grocery store, and when she did, she most often only let us choose one thing among the two of us. One flavor of ice cream or one kind of juice we preferred. If I wanted chocolate and my sister wanted butter pecan, we would have to find a way to negotiate and come to an agreement, or Mom would pick what she wanted, or worse, not get any at all. My sister, mindful of this way things worked in our family, asked Aunt Pat if this was the case. Do we need to agree? My aunt looked at my preschool-age sister and started to get us out of the checkout line when I realized what happened. My sister had a way of mixing up syllables and sounds in words, and so she had said to my aunt, "We need to go we?" Aunt Pat heard Rebecca ask to go we, so she was moving us toward the bathroom. No, I interjected. She's asking if we have to agree on one treat to share, or if we each get to choose. My sister's efforts to clarify the situation almost derailed the whole thing. In our gospel reading for today, the exchange is a little smoother. Gentiles approach Philip and ask to see Jesus. Rather than trying to clarify what they mean or comment on their request, Philip simply takes the request. The text doesn't offer a hint about why Philip approaches Andrew first. Perhaps Philip is unsure if this is a good time to approach Jesus, or maybe he just prefers to consult a friend. At any rate, Philip goes to Andrew, and Andrew and Philip together take the request to Jesus. And I see in the way this story unfolds a few things helpful for us in our time. The Gentiles don't ask about what they need to do or believe or how all this works. They just ask about Jesus for themselves. And thankfully, as I've said, Philip doesn't mishear their question and try to direct them to the bathroom, or rather, perhaps to the Torah or to circumcision, or something else that could have made sense but wouldn't have been Jesus. Our own day is characterized more and more by people who consider themselves spiritual but not religious. That's even a condensed phrase these days. My husband likes to talk about SBNRs, spiritual but not religious. They may be open to Jesus, to seeing, knowing, or experiencing Jesus themselves, but they're not very interested in religion, whatever that means to them. Perhaps rules, rituals, creeds, traditional religious worship services, whatever it is. Like Philip, may we be ready to take people to Jesus so they can see for themselves. So how do we do that? Help a person who is curious but not interested in religion to see Jesus. How would you help someone see Jesus? Well, perhaps a good place to start is answering the question for yourself. How do you see Jesus? Or how do you look for Jesus? In your own life, in community, in acts of service, in personal prayer. Surely these and more are represented among us. These are things we can surely get better at talking about. So don't consider these rhetorical questions. We have Christ Cafe after specifically for talking, right? For these kinds of conversations. So let's practice telling each other how and where we see Jesus, or where we look for Jesus, or how we look for Jesus. Receiving and offering such conversation should not push a religious agenda. It simply offers our own perspective and experience. Conversation is give and take, right? So ask others what they find meaningful in their lives. Where do they find spiritual experience or value? Let's listen and encourage and come alongside. Let's not judge or push. May we listen and find out where and how people are looking for spiritual meaning and experience. How can we meet them where they're at, rather than presuming to answer questions they don't have, or even welcoming them into a religious space and practices they have no intention of coming to? There was a seminar yesterday at the Sanctuary campus of St. Mark's United Methodist Church in Marana on reaching new people. Confession, I didn't go, but my spouse was able to attend some of it and told me the biggest thing he took from the time he was able to participate was the concept of guesting. I actually Googled, can the word guest be a verb? That's how it was used in the seminar yesterday. You be a guest. Instead of hosting, where we control the space, the agenda, the content, come to our property at a time that we choose to do what we're going to do anyway, with or without you. Try less hosting and more guesting. That's all I can confidently attribute secondhand to Reverend Rachel Gilmore, our director of New and Vital Faith. But the concept does get me thinking about what we do, what we've tried, or what we could do along the lines of guesting. Again, something perhaps to think and talk about more. What Jesus says next in our gospel reading, I think, is instructive for us in this conversation too. He says, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground, it remains just one seed. But if it falls to the ground and dies, it produces many seeds and new growth. He's speaking of his own journey to Jerusalem and the cross as he's getting close now in John's gospel. But it's also more broadly true. If the church keeps doing what we're doing, what's going to happen? What's already happening? We're dwindling. We're aging. That's not to say we don't still have plenty of vitality. You all are energizing to me. I love meeting, worshiping with you all. But, church, something likely needs to fall to the ground and die so that new growth and opportunity may come. That's a not much less harsh way of saying if we don't change, we'll die. But if we allow some of what we're used to die, we just may make the way for something new to grow. Now, I'm not exactly sure what needs to change, but something needs to. So let us be open to change, even to something that feels like it may kill us, like I said last week, so that we may make the way for new life and growth. May we welcome new things and new people, new ways and new opportunities. Like I said, I don't know what that means for us here and now. I'm not getting you ready for some huge change, but I want to find it, explore it, do it, be it, together with you. I can't do it by myself. We are the seeds, the people, the church. According to our psalm for today, a place to start is examining our own failures and lack of faithfulness. Where have we not done well? Not been who we're called to be? Not been actively concerned about others outside the church or the faith? Not been bold with what we have to offer, or more accurately, what Jesus has to offer? Psalm 51 is a psalm of confession, admitting faults and sin, and asking God to cleanse and bring back joy and newness. That is the context for the verse I took the sermon title from. O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. We don't need to be timid or scared to get it wrong or overcome with where we've been remiss. For there's always opportunity to reflect on what we're doing right and what we're not, and asking God to course correct. Martin Luther, who I was thinking of from our hymn, that we did get some words mixed up. Apologies for that. That's what happens when I go on vacation. My fault. I did not look through the PowerPoint this week. At least it makes me feel like I do something when I look through those PowerPoints. Martin Luther, whose famous hymn is "A Mighty Fortress is Our God," is credited with a funny 2-word quote. Does anyone know what it is? Can you think of it? It's all right. It's not pop quiz time. Sin boldly. And this is what I think it means. You do your best to be faithful to God, to God's people, and to the world, and you get out there. If you don't do it right, even if you sin, God is there to offer forgiveness and course correction. We do our best and we go for it. If we don't always get it right, at least there's something to work with and improve on. Luther took a huge risk with his 95 Theses, and it did change the course of the church, giving new expression to Christian faith and bringing some new people in. I'm not at all suggesting we need to critique large church structure so dramatically. I'd prefer not to arrive at church and find a big document of all the faults on the door. But what local risks can we take that might be uncomfortable for us, but make space for new expressions of faith and bring in new people? Again, not only a rhetorical question. Christ Cafe is going to be a lot today. Do you remember at least one question to talk about? Because I've posed like 3. You only have to remember one. Is it a deal? That's right. Where do you see Jesus? Good job. Good job. So I want you to talk about this week. If you don't stay for Christ Cafe, it's okay, but you're not off the hook. You still have homework. So, friends, get your lips ready for conversation with the lip balm or the chapstick, whatever you call it. You will get on your way out the door this morning, the last of our Lent in Your Pocket series. And have conversations with each other as Desert Skies people and with people outside the church. Where and how do you see Jesus or find meaning? How might we be present in the community in new ways, in new spaces as guests toward giving people a glimpse of Jesus for themselves in their own space? What are the interests of a non-religious but spiritually curious person? And what can we learn from them? So, friends, let's be bold. Allow God's Spirit to be with us and open our lips that we may speak in prayer and in witness. May it be so. Amen. Friends, among the speech that we practice here, gathered together, are words and signs of peace, so that we are well rehearsed here, that when we go out in the world, we are ready with words and actions of peacemaking. And so, friends, may the peace of Christ always be with you.